Welcome to today's question and answer session on No Limits, our awesome business community chat. Today, I think David, I think you'll agree with me. Is the topic is time, and probably a business owner's most valuable asset that we don't often give the priority that is needed. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, 100%. It's one thing you can't necessarily control or manipulate, isn't it? It just keeps going.
Yeah, absolutely.
I can't catch it back.
No, you can't. My opening gambit is always today has 24 hours, yesterday had 24 hours, and tomorrow's got 24 hours. You can't borrow from tomorrow because you need more today. And if it's a good day, you can't bank today to use tomorrow. It's just like that.
Yeah.
So you can't manipulate time, not yet, even though Einstein's theory on relativity sort of presupposes that you can. But what you can do is manage yourself in a much more productive manner in the time that you're given. So we've got a few questions here. The first one is, how do you prioritize your tasks and ensure you focus on the most important ones first? I think that's what I do is and it comes from the variant of this comes from the 1 minute manager, where sort of go and mark my tasks out of 10, or as we say, prioritize them, A, B, C, D, and E, where A is what should do, or A is must do, B is could do, C is should do, D, delegate, E, eliminate.
Yeah.
So go and sit down with your list, prioritize them in that, and only diarize the A and B. Those are the ones that you need to be getting going. What's your take on that, David?
Yeah, you know what? I think what really helps as well is being really clear on what it is that you want, what it is you want to achieve, because that's going to help you say no to the stuff that's not going to get you there. That'll help the thought process around what the A and B tasks are. So getting clarity on what you need to do based on what you want to achieve really helps you say no to the stuff that's just going to get in your way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think on that one, everything you do, is this, or how is this going to help me achieve my goal for the week, for the quarter, for the year? If it's not.
A great example of that is Formula One racing team, isn't it? What's their main focus? It's to go faster than everybody else and finish the race. Everything they do, whether you're the cleaner, whether you're the chief engineer, is designed to get the car to go faster and finish the race. And that allows you to be really clear on what you're doing.
Yeah, if this task is not helping that, then I shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
But I think that the other thing is I've had clients which have said, "Oh, Duncan, but I list the priorities," and I say, "Okay, the next thing, do you allocate a time period for when to finish that?" Because it's all fine and well saying, "No, Duncan, I just carry on doing it until I tick it off the box." So something that it's a high priority, but it takes you 2 or 3 days to do it because you keep on getting interrupted. However, if you know that should take you an hour, allocate a time for it and get done and do it.
Yeah, it kind of leads us into the second question, really, isn't it? What strategies are you using to minimize those distractions and maintain the focus through the day? It's having that default diary, that structure, to give you the space to be able to work on those strategies that are important. And the other thing to remove distractions is, I think this day and age, we're in a data-driven world, aren't we? We're bombarded with information literally by the second. So quite often these things can be a lifesaver, but they can also be the biggest blocker to getting productivity done. So turn it off, put it in another room, in a drawer, 3 or 4 layers before you can then get to it to scroll your social media.
And that is so true. But often a client will say to me, "Oh, but Duncan, you don't understand. I need to speak to my clients. They're the lifeblood." And I say, "Well, you haven't answered your phone or answered an email, read an email in the period that we've been busy." "Oh, no, I can't." So I said, "Well, the amount of respect that you have for this coaching session, start having that for a period that you say, if I'm going to sit down and write this document or this letter in this hour period, do exactly what you say, put your phone away and don't be disciplined. Give yourself the respect that you give a client in a client meeting or your coach. And we often don't do that. We're not honest.
That's a really good shout, isn't it? That diarised time to work on yourself and those things. Treat it as if you were with a client.
Yeah.
You wouldn't interrupt a client's meeting to scroll your social media, would you?
No, absolutely. And then when I say that, they say, "Oh, yeah, okay, you've got a point there." Actually, there was I can't remember. I think it was Simon Sinek was saying something, because so often people say, "Oh, if I don't, answer a client straight away, I'm going to lose them." And Simon Sinek was saying when he started off, he was completely chaotic, and he got from a networking event, he got a business card from someone who really wanted to speak to him, and he lost it, and he couldn't for the life of him remember who it was, and eventually found it 2 weeks later and contacted the gent and said, "Right, Simon said, remember we met there," and the chap was so impressed that he came back, and he thought, not, "Oh my goodness, he's forgotten about me," but he's so busy and he can only get to me now. Wow, he must be good. And I sort of love that story. Don't immediately think because you're not answering a client the minute they've phoned, or you call them back, you're not going to lose them.
Yeah, really good.
What is the next one? It says, how do you balance your time between long-term planning and day-to-day operational tasks?
That's a goodie.
That is a goodie, yeah.
Yeah, those little things that you need to do today to deliver the long-term objective that get put to one side because stuff just happens today.
It's that we don't have time to do it now, but I is the Kuta hour.
Yeah.
So selecting 1 hour a day, which you ring fenced, you cast it in concrete, you have guards all around it that cannot disturb you, and that. If there was one thing you could fill that hour with, that would help you achieve your aim for the end of the week, for the end of the month, for the end of the quarter, I think that is so important.
Yeah, it links back to that appointment with yourself again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Safeguarding that hour for yourself. The other thing that's quite a good tool to use with stuff like that is the Covey time target, isn't it? The matrix around importance and urgency.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Task comes across your desk, just ask yourself, is it important and urgent? Does it need doing by myself now? Or is it something that's important but not urgent and I can prioritize, I can schedule it and schedule those into your diary for the rest of the week or month? And then is it urgent but not important? So does it need doing now, but doesn't need to be done by me? So potentially delegated. And then the not important, not urgent is that deleting. Does it actually need to at all?
Get rid of it.
Having that framework in your mind when a task comes across your desk to prioritize it.
Yeah,
so guys,
I
have a question here. If we do this and we select which is a priority and what can be scheduled, so how often do we need to check our diary? I know that it's diary, but how often during the day? Or that, well, yeah, how often? Because if we during the day are scheduling more tasks or more activities, so what I checked this morning, but the end of the day won't be the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think if I can, David, on that, you should plan. We have what we call a default diary in Action Coach, and which you set those things that you have to do by default, monthly, weekly, and daily. And like daily, I will set aside in the default diary a block of say 2 hours for customer calling. Now the night before, what I'll go and do is say, right, which customers or prospects am I actually going to call in that day? And I'll go and plan the physical, or I'm going to phone so-and-so at that time to discuss this. And I'll put that in a daily day. But I'll have my diary open with me all day. And I'll go through, I keep track of myself. And I don't go and add things in And that, I think, Karen, is one of the dangers, is when we start just adding things in as they happen. Because David said right at the beginning, we're not prioritizing and we're just putting them in, and that's the danger. So you need to mind. I keep my diary, I'm looking over to the right to my other screen, and that's going all the time. David, your take on that?
Yeah, so very similar to you. I won't show you one that's completed because of names and stuff. It's kind of that, what what is all the stuff that I've got to get done? But actually, if I could only do 3 things a day, what are those 3 things? So the night before, the week before, plan what you need to get done, so you prioritize them. If I can walk away from the day saying at least I've done those 3 things, then that's a good day. Because there'll always be stuff that comes up. There'll always be stuff that needs to be done. But it's that question of going through the process of prioritizing them based on urgency and importance. Sometimes something comes across your desk, actually it's quite a small task that's important and urgent. You can just get it done there and then.
Yeah.
Other times, the sweet spot is to be in that important but not urgent. So you can schedule the really important stuff so you can spend the time on it, and you're not reacting to the urgent stuff. So you're not firefighting and in that sort of chaotic state of always having to react to something. So working on your business to be able to plan the strategies and the systems to be in that place where you're working on it, working on the important stuff in a structured way is the sweet spot. That's where we want to be as business owners.
Wasn't it, you referenced Stephen Covey on that as well, but Dwight Eisenhower, who the Eisenhower matrix, which is what that's all based on. Funny enough, yesterday was the 6th of January, so D-Day, and he was Supreme Commander. Anyway, he said he has 2 types of problems, either urgent or important, but he never wants them to get urgent and important, because exactly what you say, that's firefighting. Just I liked what you showed us there. Maybe you can put in the chat box what that planner is that you use, because I think that's going to be quite useful for our community. I'd be very interested in seeing that. I think that's a great idea.
So it's just something off of Amazon. So let me just type it in there.
Because there are so many of these tools around, and I think it's, one can be overwhelmed. Oh my goodness gracious me, what should I get? And here we go. Here's a business coach using that. I think that's a good example of something that would work.
Yes, I have that with this one, which is similar to this one. But the thing is, instead of being a planner, it turned into a to-do list.
Yeah.
So I had Monday with this space. So I had to use Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday because my to-do list was too long. So I said, no, I need to find a way to schedule this. And then I found that I start to number the weeks as well. And then I was adding stuff to coming weeks. Okay. Yeah, but I didn't use it that much. I think I need to go back and do it properly.
I think carry on.
Grab a book. I'm trying to find a book. Give me a sec.
While you're looking for that, so for everybody to write this down. I think this is great. Just to go through the priorities again, it's A, B, C, D, and E. A is must do. B is need to do. C is should do. D is delegate, and E is eliminate. And you only diarize the A and B tasks. And I think that's the important thing. You've got to get used to the fact, you need to be comfortable with the fact is that you're never going to have enough time. There isn't enough time to do everything that you want to. And that's why it's important to prioritize your tasks like that. So I prioritize them. Well, you're not going to be able to do them all. So only put the A and the B's in your diary. As you go through doing these, you will see that the A's start getting done, and then the C's, the should do, start moving into the need to do or must do, if that makes sense. Yeah. Did you not find the book?
I did. I think it was Justin. Justin did a book review on it, didn't it? It's in the system somewhere. So that's a really good resource for helping to plan your day. Yes. There's a load of really helpful step-by-step guides in terms of how to do it. It's a really, really good book.
Yeah, it's a great shot, David. Yeah. Eat that frog.
Eat the frog. Eat that frog.
I was giving this workshop yesterday on time, and yeah, We're, those of you that haven't read it yet, it's basically, the premise is the most disgusting thing you could ever do is eat a raw frog. And so those difficult, I'm dreading tasks, get them done as soon as possible and get them out of the way, because otherwise psychologically it's just niggling on you for the rest of the day, and you keep on kicking them into dust. It has an impact on the rest of your day, plus you never really get that thing done.
Exactly.
He
And then you
really,
postpone it and postpone it and postpone it. It's still there.
and he really does help as well, actually, just go through the prioritization process, helping to sort of prioritize what the one or two key things are that you need to do. I'm not sure if it's in this book or not, but it's kind of that thought process around, you can't do everything, but you can do something. So
Yes.
focus on the things that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Get used to the fact that there is never going to be enough time to do everything that you want to do. And I think business owners specific, especially, we sit there 70, 80-hour weeks because we're trying to just do it all.
Yeah.
And it's not necessary. You don't have to kill yourself like that.
Be comfortable saying no to stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. This goes nicely into another question here. What strategies do you use to maintain a healthy work-life balance and prevent burnout? I think I read somewhere that work-life balance is probably the biggest confusing thing at all, which means you balance something is you're not really giving much to either, or you're compromising. And I think what I try and do, and what I talk to my clients with, is do whatever you do 100%. So if you're working, if it's your business, 100% on your business. But likewise, when you stop that and you go family and your time, it's 100% family and my time. You do not have your business telephone when you're out with the family for a meal or sitting in the back garden or something like that. That to me is critical.
That's an interesting point, and I'm going to be a little challenging now. Kim Scott, Radical Candor, talks about work-life integration, and is the modern world actually a place where that balance, saying one has to be done in one place and one done in the other place, almost like a conflict? So is there actually now a need to integrate it? So accepting that you can't necessarily switch off from everything that goes on at work when you go home, and actually learning to deal with those challenges of having work things going on in your mind whilst you're with the family. I agree with you being 100% present with the family. So it's working on your be and who you need to become to be able to manage that interference whilst you're with your family, how to be 100% present while you've still got stuff on your mind from work, and vice versa. When you're in the office, you've got home life stuff thinking about it. So it's a real common challenge, I think.
Look, I agree with you 100%. And I think that's even more why we should concentrate on that, because we are, as business owners, we concentrate so much on the business, and then we have very little time for outside, and that absolutely has an impact on you. Yeah. But I think it's impossible not to think about business, and it's impossible, especially if something's happening in a family, not to have an impact on your business. But I think that's where I'm a huge advocate of, we call it our frog sheet or the action diary, but of every afternoon or every evening, whenever it is, I'm not going to dictate to you when you need to stop work. So whether it's 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, but whenever your work day stops, is then to spend 15 minutes reflecting on the day. How was the day? And with the action diary, which I think is also on the system, is a brilliant template for that. 15 minutes reflecting on how today went, and then 15 minutes on planning for tomorrow. And the psychology behind it is that your subconscious mind then doesn't have something to bring to your conscious mind at 3 o'clock in the morning. And I think that's a way of, because what we often don't do, especially now with so many people working from home, when we used to commute half an hour, 3/4 of an hour, there was a lot of time to do that, and you would do it naturally. Now, when you go from your home office, you either walk across the lawn to the house or go out of one room to the other. it's very difficult to do that. And I find that, to me, works wonderful. 50 minutes, reflect on today, 50 minutes, plan for tomorrow. And
yeah, it's a great share. Would you recommend actually writing the stuff down as well?
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. Without a shadow of a doubt. The other thing that I recommend is we beings on the planet, I know this has been proven time and time again, need and we thrive on routine. You just need to have a look at what and I don't want to get into a global warming debate, but you know, we've had a long and wet winter, and have a look at how that's confused. I mean, the daffodils were down here in Somerset were only blooming in March. They're normally out in January. It's just confusion. Yeah. And nature doesn't like it. No beings like it. And us, absolutely, we thrive on routine. And you think of your parents, how children thrive on routine. And when we have prisoners and people with having difficulty, routine is the thing. So I say to people, choose a time and try and do the same every day. Get into that routine and then write it down. Yeah. You know, what does Brad Sugars always say? If it's not written down, it doesn't exist. And
yeah, you're absolutely right. I think the routine thing actually is quite an interesting one, isn't it? Because some people don't like the idea of a routine because they like to have that sort of impetus and freedom to move around and freedom to sort of don't really be locked into a certain routine. But the counter argument is actually by having those routines in the daily life and the daily stuff that you do frees up your mind to think about other things because you're not thinking about what you need to do next because you haven't got the routine. The routine puts it into that subconscious autopilot mode. I heard a stat, I'm not sure how true it is. I heard a stat that on average, you'll be making around 30,000 decisions every single day as a human being, 30,000 decisions every single day, but only 3% are conscious decisions. The rest are subconscious.
Yes. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think getting back to just putting I'm not saying when people say, oh, Duncan, I like to go with the flow, which is all fine and well, but you need to set boundaries. As human beings, that's been proven as scientific fact for yourself. You cannot just keep on going because you're not as efficient that way.
Yeah.
By all means, give yourself I want an afternoon of just creative thinking. Put mobile phones and everything away and just go and but block these times off. I think that's my take on it. And funny enough, business owners that I've worked with, they've said, and creative, a photographer, just by, he used to call it in getting into lanes, you have lanes of creative, lanes of I'm doing this, and having them well demarcated, it was his way of doing it. But in his mind, okay, I'm in this lane now, and I'm not going to let those things interfere.
Yeah.
Then I jump into another lane. It's a way of, it was his creative way of not being too compartmentalized, but still having a form of routine, and it worked wonders for him, absolute wonders.
That sounds very similar to what James Clear talks about in the Atomic Habits book about creating those environments where you're focused on, like your desk is for work and the dinner is for eating and family time, and stacking those habits with rewarding habits as well as the hard habits that you don't want to do. Yeah, really good. Another great book actually for
time. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Well, I think that's almost all we have time for today. Karen, is there anything else particular that you want to mention or somebody else needs
there's no way we can run out of time on a time.
We need more time.
No, well, there we go. Here's the routine structure we're going to stick to, because we could go on forever.
Yeah, we need more time. That's
one thing
summary for today.
That's one thing we can't control, Karen. We can't make more time.
No,
exactly.
Absolutely.
That's true. That's why people wake up earlier sometimes to have time for themselves, which is another point of view that has plenty of followers around the world.
I think that's a really good point to probably finish on, actually, is making sure you look after yourself. Make the time in whatever day your day looks like, your week looks like. Create the space and the time to look after yourself. It's back to that airline, isn't it, where you get the mask that drop down, is put your own mask on first, look after yourself first, because you can't look after other people if you're not looking after yourself.
That's
so true.
That's
very, very cool.
Wonderful.
Okay, great guys, stuff. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this session.